Hello, I'm Malcolm Gallagher, and you're watching the Top Gun Sales and Marketing Show from the UK studios of BizVision. You cannot claim to be a top gun in marketing if you haven't yet grasped the value and usage of a solid CRM system. Yes, many in sales and marketing have a supposed system, which is often just a mailing list, but few take the time to know why they have a CRM system, what it can do for them, both now and in the future. Quite simply, a CRM system helps you put your customers where they should be at the heart of your business. But CRM, like everything else in technology, is moving on and leaders are probing forward with new usage. So who better to have a guest than one of those leaders? He's the CEO of SugarCRM. Welcome, Craig Charlton.
Thank you, Malcolm. It's great to be on your program.
And lovely to talk to you about such an important subject in the arena of marketing. Now, before we look at the next stages in CRM, so please briefly tell viewers what SugarCRM is and who it does it for.
Yeah, for sure. So we're a 15-year-old vendor. In fact, we celebrated a 15th birthday this year. We're Silicon Valley based, and we're a provider of sales, marketing, service, and AI solutions that help businesses deliver a high definition CRM and customer experience. We actually started as an open source project 15 years ago, and it gave us a real boost in terms of exposure across the globe. But we moved to full commercial about 5 years ago. So one of the things that makes us different is our time-aware CX platform. It gives companies the comprehensive data they need to achieve a crystal clear view of their customers, their business, and their markets. And also helps them drive performance and achieve demonstrably better predictability. In terms of our credentials, we've got 5 million plus users across over 120 countries around the world. And in your neck of the woods, we've got some great brands. We've got Mazars, we've got Tetley in the UK. We've got a number of great global brands like Star, SMC, Sennheiser, Rheem, Tyson Foods, and many, many others. So we have one of the highest customer retention rates and satisfaction rates in the industry, with an NPS score in the 90s, which this is the first company that I've ever worked with that has had such a high NPS score. That's almost unheard of in the world of tech.
That's Net Promoter, isn't it?
Net Promoter Score. I shouldn't use acronyms. We're very guilty of that in IT. But you look at all of the customer voted sentiment surveys, whether it's G2 Crowd, whether it's softwarereviews.com, whether it's Forbes Most Trusted, and Sugar always appears right up near the top of the list. And so for that, I'm extremely grateful for our customers and their loyalty.
Yeah, but also that's tremendous acclaim to you. And I'm sure you will admit there are a lot of other companies out there offering varying types of CRM systems. What makes SugarCRM different? Why should it be in the top 3 on a marketer's shopping list?
Well, number one, we're one of the most visionary vendors in the marketplace for 8 years in a row, according to Gartner. But as if you take a marketer's view, as a marketer, if you could automatically marry your marketing and sales data with relevant market, business, and account information that lives outside of your 4 walls, and you could then apply AI to that combination of information to predict things like the relevant attributes, your ICP, ideal customer profile. So what makes that right fit, that perfect fit customer, as well as identifying potentially new segments for customers that you can go and target. And what if those predictions were available to you instantly rather than having to wait weeks? And imagine how much more effective as a marketer you could be if you could spend more time on crafting the right campaign to engage with those ideal targets, and how popular you'd be with your sales counterparts by handing them leads for accounts where they have the best chance of success. So, there's some of the reasons. That's what makes CX actionable in my mind. And obviously I'm biased, but I think Sugar does that better than any of our competitors.
And, as you're talking to me, I'm sort of realizing that what marketers in today's new altered world need to be are agile, adaptive. And it seems to me that that's exactly what you can be offering them. I want to talk to you now about the next generation CRM. You call it HDCX. What's that and how does it work?
Look, HDCX is high definition. So the HD is the high definition piece. It's a vision that we're incredibly excited about, and we think companies really need to be thinking about. It's about solving the problems that have plagued CRM and CX since their inception. So if you think about CRM, it's been around for 30 plus years. Yet for most companies, and you ask most companies, their customer view is decidedly low resolution. And you can't compete in this day and age with a low resolution customer view. It's incomplete, it's out of date, it's wrong, and it's myopically focused on current state rather than being, a time-aware view. So HD is really about fidelity, it's about clarity, it's about understanding your customers down to that last pixel, to use a TV analogy. And the difference between, if anyone remembers, standard definition TV and high definition TV is completely analogous to the difference between traditional CRM and this new wave of CX platforms that, we've built and we are building. So, HDCX is about providing a single unified view of your customers that spans the entire customer journey, from their first marketing engagements right through to providing future predictions about their needs, about their sentiment, and about their likely future behavior. So it's all about personalization of the customer journey, providing predictions about the future, and then guiding your employees based on this, you should do X. So it's a guided, prescriptive environment where you're giving the advice around things like next best actions. And so, ultimately this HD view of the customer will drive higher performance. It'll drive higher revenue and provide dramatically improved predictability as a business. And that's absolutely crucial. So we look at it like the fog is lifted and you're seeing your customers, your business, and your market with absolute clarity for the first time.
Yeah. Let's just stay with that and help our viewers absorb a little bit more about this high definition view of customers' work. A lot of salespeople sell a mile wide and an inch deep, don't they?
Yeah.
This, obviously, you're going to be able to, CRM system, see, what else can be sold to a customer. But can it help a business say what else they need to be producing for the future? With a range of personas, can they see where they're going to?
Yeah, look, in terms of the whole personas and understanding the customers to a greater level of intimacy, it's a clearer, deeper understanding, as I said, of the customer down to that last pixel. What a HDCX view can provide is a complete historical record of every single change event on the customer journey, and that gives you should give you full situational and directional awareness of your customers and your business at the fingertips. So it's that merging of customers and what you're bringing to market. So many other platforms talk about a concept of a 360-degree view of a customer, and people have been talking about that for 30 years. The fundamental weakness with that discussion is it's based in a point in time, and here at Sugar, we believe that by recording every single change event in the customer journey, we can predict likely future outcomes and likely future sentiment and future needs with a high degree of accuracy. And that's high definition. And why is that important? Well, accurate predictions enable companies to make better business decisions because business is moving so quickly, enables you to manage risk and identify and respond to problems and opportunities far more quickly. Also take the guesswork and gut feel out of critical decisions, because the tech should be making those determinations. Tech should be providing the future predictions rather than just relying on old-fashioned gut feel. And that way, organizations can gain a rich insight into the past, into the present, and the future, of all of their customer-facing processes. So, for me, it's a deeper, clearer picture of the customer, and it's way beyond just the persona. It's right to the core of the actual person, and I think that's a huge leap forward in technology.
Very, very exciting. What are the few top 2 or 3 principal mistakes that a company makes in implementing a CRM system?
Well, they probably start by making the selection of a wrong CRM system. So, I think there's a misguided belief in boardrooms that big is better. There are some fundamental flaws in competitive CRM systems, which have, as I said, have persisted since inception. And And they're typically the biggest vendors, and it's the reason why I joined Sugar. So Sugar does a great job of fixing these problems. I mean, that's what we're absolutely myopically focused on, fixing these problems. But because we're not a household name, we often don't get considered in, say, the top three in a selection. So most CRM systems fail to deliver the envisaged business benefits. And, you know, the stats are like 74% of CRM systems fail to deliver those benefits. And it's because these problems persist. And, you know, it leads to statistics like sales professional spending 35% of their time actually selling. I mean, that is ludicrous that they're spending 35, and only 60% of them are actually meeting their quotas. One of the key areas, one of the key reasons why they get this wrong, and this has persisted since CRM's early days, is the balance of effort versus benefit. When it comes to sales teams are very clever, very cunning in a lot of ways. And if you give them a system where I've got huge amounts of effort and tiny amounts of benefit, they're not going to use the system. You've got to rebalance that equation. And most of that comes from the burden of data entry. You place that on humans, and it's not hard to understand why your data is incomplete and duplicative and fails to deliver an accurate picture of anything in the business, let alone your pipeline. So luckily, in our mind, there's a different way. It's about using technology to lighten the load and provide that perfect picture, if you like. So in our mind, the right CRM implementation can help customers and companies get a high fidelity view of their customer. So it's all about replacing that fragmented customer picture with a sharply focused understanding of customers, markets, and business, and you know, that's rich in both breadth and depth, and that's the very definition of high definition CX. And you know, I think that's one of the key things to getting it right.
Yeah, I really like this. It's so exciting. Now, I know that CRM systems has to be embedded in a business if it's to work well. Many regard the data input as a chore, and after a while, I suggest the rate of input or accuracy drops off. That to me is a waste of opportunity, let alone money for the company. In your experience, how do the best practice companies firmly embed CRM and grab the enthusiasm of their people?
Well, I couldn't agree more. And this is something that has persisted since CRM's inception. And a lot of the vendors that have come out have taken the same model, and it's a fundamentally flawed model. So this is why we have this concept of no touch, and it's a core pillar of our CX systems. We're on a constant mission to remove end user burden. As I said before, 74% of CX initiatives fail because of the user adoption piece. So in a marketing context, it's a bit easier. In a services context, it's a bit easier because you either use them or you get fired. But in that core Salesforce automation piece, sales people will avoid a system unless they're getting more benefit than the effort that it takes. And that return equation is absolutely critical. And so, you know, we look at data entry at Sugar as a last resort. In this day and age of technology, you shouldn't have to be sitting there attached to a keyboard, plugging away like a chimpanzee or something. I mean, it makes no sense. Our no-touch, minimal data entry model flips the value equation. So, you know, if you enable users to spend far less time entering and finding customer information, what are they spending their time on? They can actually engage with their customers and their prospects, which is what we want them for. That's great for business. It's great for our customers, and it's great for our sales team as well. So, you know, we've coined the phrase no-touch information management. And no-touch information management involves automating and collecting data just as a byproduct of users working. No copying and pasting and doing all these other extraneous things. Processing and analyzing data automatically to extract the right insights and provide next best action guidance. So that next best action guidance is a massive boost for salespeople, and when they're getting that and it's proved that it actually works, they'll embrace the system wholeheartedly. And then finally, it's about, you know, delivering customer information directly to the users in context, you know, with what they're actually doing. So they don't have to go into a separate system. They don't have to go and run reports. It's actually just fed to them, and they get this key insight when they need it. So it's all about the balance between effort and reward. It's a simple thing, but traditionally CRM systems have got it the wrong way around. And maximum effort, minimal benefit is not the way to get people to use the system.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Sugar's here to fix that.
Yeah, totally. Just before we move on to the next question, Craig, I need to remind my viewers that behind me on the screen is the URL for them to go find more about SugarCRM. And that's going to apply to my next question, because let's say there's a VP of marketing or a CEO listening that says, I like what Craig's saying, and we need to move forward or we'll fall behind. So how would you suggest that company goes about successfully implementing a system like your new HDCX without anguish? I'm just what to the anguish? That's the anguish bit.
Well, let me start by saying thank you to this proverbial VP of marketing or CEO who's liking what I'm saying. I'm, as you can tell, very passionate about this concept. And number one is you've got to engage with the right business partner. You need to engage with a business partner that cares, that sincerely cares about your success. Someone who understands that it's not about a one-sided relationship, and someone who can work hard and will work hard to make every interaction a success. If you look at some of the more fundamental lessons that I've seen in 30 years of implementing systems, embrace change. Best practice is a constant journey. It's not a destination you reach and then put the tools down. You've got to be incrementally improving constantly. Focus on your competitive advantage as a business. And I would say it's difficult to achieve competitive advantage if you end up buying the same system and doing exactly the same thing as all of your competitors. I mean, it's a common sense thing. Focus on the customer journey and focus on achieving real and meaningful customer intimacy in that customer journey. When you're going through the process, don't accept no for an answer. Ask the same question multiple times, because quite often you will get to the right answer, and search for answers that provide you an unfair advantage over your competitors. I think that's absolutely key. From the new wave of marketing and sales, they used to operate as individual functions with like a Chinese wall between the two of them. Make sure you have alignment across all of your functions: marketing, sales, and service. It's got to be seen as one contiguous journey and one team. And in my mind, work with the right vendor, someone who has the right vision, someone who's driving innovation, someone who's dedicated to fixing the problems that have persisted with CRM forever, and someone who's dedicated to generating customers for life, but more importantly, that's dedicated to helping you as a customer generate customers for life. So, that would be my lessons.
Yeah, I really like that. Now, again, marketing, it's rapidly changing from being an art to a science, and becoming, quite rightly so, measurable in terms of KPIs, return on investment, ROI, and the like. So how does SugarCRM assist in such accountability?
Yeah, look, I mean, marketing's become so much more data-driven than when I first started out. It is, you're right, it's far more hooked to the science, and data is very clearly leveraged to drive that competitive advantage, which I think is a great thing. High definition CRM can help with giving you answers to things that used to be really hard to get. So if you think about things like predicting the likelihood of a lead to convert, so that lead scoring model using AI, it's far better than what a human being can do. Highlighting market segments with a high propensity to purchase your product. Identifying intent signals out there in the market. There's so much intent data that is out there in the big wide world based on what people are doing and what they're looking at. And then appropriately guiding them through that buying journey, as well as identifying customers on the other end of the equation who are most likely to churn, and identifying that early in the process that there's something breaking down in the relationship, providing you precious runway to remediate and rebuild that relationship and win the hearts and minds of that customer back, way before they start considering alternatives. Looking at things like insight-driven forecasting, prescriptive or guidance around any aspect of the business, particularly the selling process. So once you've got that lead, what should I do next? And guiding them through the process for the best outcome in terms of quota attainment. Seamless recommendations for add-on products, but not just add-on products that you bought product A, therefore you should buy product B, and shoving that down the customer's throat, but more add-on products which are tied to the customer needs. So you're thinking about the customer and looking at the way you should be looking at it through the customer's eyes, and evaluating where they are, on their customer journey. So, and as well as things like the holy grail items, marketing attribution, that's been around, it's been the big question forever in boardrooms. Show me the respective contribution to close business from each of the different things you've done. It's really, really hard, but we can deliver these things these days now with the amount of data and obviously with the AI piece. And then, right at the end of the life cycle, when they're in a support mode, doing things like predictive case routing, and making sure that the customer gets a resolution to something as quickly as possible by putting them in charge with the subject matter expert as quickly as possible. So there's a ton of different use cases, and all of these use cases individually can help our customers outperform their competitors. And that gets me very excited, Malcolm.
Yeah. And I can see how a CMO and a CFO, Chief Marketing and Chief Financial, can start to work together more closely, rather than they do tend to work too much apart at the moment, isn't it? Now, totally different tack, Craig. Here at BizVision, we believe that the business for our new world, new society, will be the conscious business led by the conscious leader and the conscious marketer. They will be aware of their responsibilities to their planet, people, community, customers, suppliers. How does SugarCRM assist them in achieving such purpose?
Well, look, we're in an industry where, and if you read some of the things like softwarereviews.com, etc., there are a number of the competitors in the space that get very bad marks in terms of things like integrity and in terms of balance in relationship, in terms of using their power for evil rather than good, if you like. So, we have a lifetime commitment to our customers, and it's how Sugar operates as a business. It's one of our absolute core pillars, and it's an unwavering commitment to try and deliver value to them through the relationship to make them better businesses. And it starts, from the moment we engage with a prospective customer and continues, way beyond when they purchase, and way beyond when they implement, and obviously way beyond them renewing their commitment to us. So that lifetime commitment is a promise to enable companies to grow and succeed, and it's a holistic support throughout the entire journey. And the commitment at its most basic is to deliver on our promises. And that might not sound like a lot, but it is in the world of IT. Treat them with fairness, treat them with respect, and treat their success and the success of their customers of the utmost importance. And we apply that same philosophy to our employees and how we treat each other in the business. So, there's so much going on in the world, which is not great at the moment. It's important to stick to those key principles and do good wherever we can.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, keep those principles firmly to the fore. Now, Craig, my final question, and my usual granting to my guest of 3 wishes. I had to give you 3 wishes for the understanding of the value of investment in a quality CRM system for their company by a C-suite or a board of directors. What would those 3 wishes be?
Well, I'd probably turn it slightly and say, if I'm in the boardroom, I'd like the board to understand 3 things. So, the first one is predictability as a business is just as important as performance. And in most cases, if you think about it, predictability actually drives performance. If I've got insight into the future, I'm going to make the right decisions to drive performance. AI prediction engines, and they're everywhere now, are only as good as their level of accuracy. So just saying, yes, I've got AI isn't enough. The AI system has to deliver a heightened level of predictability in order for it to make sense and be of value. And in fact, AI engines that deliver a low level of predictability are probably actually doing harm for business because they're providing guidance on things which is actually incorrect. So don't rely solely on your CRM, internal CRM data, because regardless of how good you think you are, it will be incomplete and incorrect. And all the studies prove that. You have to rely on an AI engine that uses the CRM data as well as extraneous data sources and curated data sources to deliver the utmost level of predictability. And that's a hard concept, but you need to take it really seriously, or otherwise you're going to deliver suboptimal outcomes. The second one is and goes to the core of a problem that has persisted with CRM systems forever. You can't have an intimate understanding of your business, your customers, your markets, if you don't understand time. And CRM systems have been flawed forever because they're really good at telling you the state of the nation right now. That's good right now, but if you don't understand times, then you can't understand history. And if you don't understand history, how can you predict the future with any degree of accuracy? So it's a fundamental weakness of competitive CRM systems, and it's something that I think we've transformed the marketplace by providing that. And then lastly, and we have this occasionally where a selection committee will recommend sugar, and it gets to the board and it's like, we don't know who sugar is. Go with the gorilla in the brand and the gorilla in the space. And having been a 3-time burn victim, I would say brand doesn't deliver value per se. The company might, but there's gorillas in the CRM space, and they have some fundamental flaws, as I've mentioned on multiple occasions. And it was the reason I joined Sugar, was to be able to fix these sins of CRM systems that have been there since the inception. So some businesses just buy for this perceived safety. The old 80s, no one gets fired for buying IBM. Internally we say people get promoted for buying sugar. So remember, you cannot achieve a competitive advantage if you're doing exactly the same as everyone else and implementing exactly the same system as all of your competitors. I mean, that should be pretty much a common sense realization that if you're doing exactly the same, you don't have a competitive advantage. So, it might deliver an ego boost, but it doesn't translate to business value. The gorilla might be the right product, but don't just look at the gorilla. Look at others in the marketplace, particularly the more visionary vendors, and I'd hope that Sugar's included in that mix.
Brilliant. Craig Charlton, CEO of SugarCRM. I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting you because what you've been is very forthright and helpful and informative within the interview. Thank you for a great interview.
Thanks for having me, Malcolm. It's been a lot of fun.